Hey, it's Matt Roush.
And Mike Brennan.
Why don't you introduce our first guest here?
Sure, we have Stephanie Sharp, who's calling in from Vancouver. And her company is based up there, one of our Canadian cousins. And I want to make sure I get it right. It's 3DQ Technology, right?
3DQ Systems, yeah.
Systems, okay. And so obviously, as the name implies, 3D products, you have a little bit different wrinkle. You were describing your process to me last week where your software creates the products rather than creating a mold to create the products, but I'm probably not doing it justice. So why don't you give us a better explanation?
Sure. So you pretty much have it right. We do what's called digital manufacturing, and in other words, we have the computers run most of the manufacturing process, and we do that by using 3D printers. So we have software running a whole bunch of 3D printers. We have 45 running right now, and we're using those to, of course, produce all kinds of product right now for COVID as well as industry.
So you were doing some stuff that I hadn't heard before, like you were doing the swabs. I'd heard all, we've seen the face shields and the bands and all that jazz. But when you said the swabs, I were really, how? Why don't you explain that to folks? Because I've never heard of that one before.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So, I mean, this is, I guess, situations like this drive innovation. So one of the challenges is COVID testing swabs. Are in short supply worldwide, and the typical swab, they have a plastic handle, and they have nylon, what they call flocking, kind of like a Q-tip, and then they have a machine that sticks the nylon onto the end of the swab, and off it goes. And when the government gave us a call and said, hey, we've got a shortage of these swabs, is there anything you can do with 3D printing? We thought, why not? We could just we could have the 3D printers make a little collection design at the end of a plastic handle. And that's what we did. So we're just waiting for approvals, regulatory approvals right now.
Huh.
So how many of those are you planning on making?
Well, with our current setup, which, as I say, is 5 what we call Q pods, which is 3D printing networks. So that's 45 printers. We can produce about 8,000 swabs a day. And what we're talking to the government about is increasing the number of machines and going for about 30,000 swabs a day.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the company, its background, how long it's been around, that kind of thing, and how it got into the sort of additive manufacturing business?
Sure. So we've been around since 2018. But my co-founder actually invented the technology that we use for the digital manufacturing. So he's been in 3D printing since 2015. And what he noticed, he was in early days on 3D printing and designed all kinds of cool things. And everybody was, oh, can you make this? Can you make that? And what he discovered very quickly with 3D printers, once the printer prints your object, it just sits there waiting for you to come and scrape the part off the printer, and then you have to put in taper glue or clean the surface and start the next print. So he said, so it was sitting there all day when he wasn't home. So he said, what if I could run this remotely with software? And so that's what he invented, and then ran that on his own for his own designs for a couple of years, and then was talking to me about, could I turn this into a business? And we looked at it and said, yeah, actually, this would be really useful for lots and lots of companies because it's very efficient mass production when it's run by software.
Now, one of the things you mentioned when we were discussing last week is you are actually working with the Michigan company right now. Why don't we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so in fact, we launched our technology in Michigan at a trade show in Detroit called Rapid Plus TCT. And the first company to install our system was MCPP, which is the Mitsubishi Chemical Performance Polymers division or company that's part of the Mitsubishi Group. And they make a whole bunch of different materials for 3D printing. So they wanted high volume production in order to rapidly test all their new materials and their new colors and stuff. And through them, we've been introduced to other companies that in your area, like Illinois and Massachusetts, and we're working with them on producing COVID supplies and also other products. One of the interesting companies we're working with actually is called 3D Print Life, and they have a material that has copper in it, and so which is an antimicrobial. So they're thinking, well, they can print cases for cell phones and stuff, and then it's antimicrobial, which helps in terms of surface, sort of surface disinfecting on a continuous basis.
So we ask these questions. I know this is obviously not anybody's main business, but now it's becoming, I wouldn't say a main business, but it's becoming a major part of their business. How big is what you're doing for the Canadian, PPE situation? Percentage-wise, how big is that part of your business now?
Right now, it's about 50% of our business. A lot of face shields, as you said. We're also ramping up. We've developed a 3D printed electric pump for hands-free sanitizer. So we 3D print the pump, and then you just wave your hand under it and get sanitizer, because there's a shortage of pumps now. And then we've got about 50% is various companies that need, they just need supply, and that's kind of COVID related in the sense that their supply chains are broken because people have shut down in different parts of the world, and so now they can't get their normal, supplies. So I guess everything we're doing is kind of driven by COVID, but not all directly in response to it.
On the flip side, whenever this nightmare ends, is this something that you think you might stay involved in some way, and then sense of PPE supplies?
Yeah, well, PPE, I don't know specifically. I guess it depends on what the demand will be, but the test swabs, certainly we could do other nasopharyngeal swabs. It doesn't have to just be for COVID. We could do those continuing. The hand sanitizer pumps, that might become a long-term piece. So yeah, it's really hard to tell right now, but that's what we're kind of looking at that ourselves. We're only a few weeks in. I mean, it feels like it's been forever.
Yeah.
But when you really look at the timeline, it's all pretty new.
Yeah, but it's sometimes it feels like we had a heck of a year last week, that kind of thing.
April was the longest month that I can remember in a long time.
History,
yes, by the end of the month, I was going stir crazy.
So how much of your business is actually making 3D printed objects for clients versus the software? Because you do both, right?
Yeah, so our main business is technically putting the systems together, which are a combination of hardware and software. But now, now we are spending a great deal of our time producing product. The interesting thing is that with digital manufacturing, one of the things you need to do is continuously refine, because it's such a new technology, you have to continuously refine your system, and you need a high volume of production to capture the data in order to know what to fix, like what's working, what's not working, what could be more efficient. So all of the product that we're producing is getting us that data. So for us, it's kind of working in terms of developing the system, and we would have to be printing products anyway for our research and development. Right. So now we're printing it, and we're printing higher volumes than we would have been. So before COVID, just so you know, like 8 weeks ago, we had 1 QPod, which is 9 printers, and now we have 5, and we're planning to put another 5 in the next month or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what materials are you using in your research? Have you gotten into some of the more exotic materials, composites, powdered metals, that kind of thing, or are you still doing primarily polymers?
Primarily the thermoplastics, polymers. We do a lot with PLA, ABS. That's just the typical stuff that you see with 3D printing. But we're very excited. We're working with a company that has a biodegradable nylon, and we're going to be testing that in the next few weeks. And we are looking at some of the metal containing, like the copper that I was talking about. So that type of filament. And there's another filament we're actually hoping to try out sometime soon, which mimics bone. So it's really good for doctors and surgeons who want, or even medical students who want to try cutting something that feels and acts like bone. So you can 3D print, say, I don't know, if a surgeon's going to, operate on my arm, maybe on the arm bone, put plates in, they can print a replica, and then they can cut into this replica and say, oh, that this should be tweaked or that should be tweaked, and you're not doing that on a live patient.
Yeah, yeah. Or a jawbone for a dentist, maybe, something like that. Yeah.
That exactly. You could do anything. And I think it's mostly, useful for instance, if you're going to be screwing plates in and all that kind of stuff, you want to test it out before you put it on a patient.
All right, we're in our final minute, so this is your opportunity to do a shameless plug and tell people how they can reach out to you and maybe work with your company going forward.
Yeah, for sure. So our website is 3dque.com, so 3dq.com. And if you want to see some of the stuff we're doing for COVID, right at the top of the page, it says medical products. Just click on that and you can go take a look at our products. And on our website, we also have our systems.
Traditional four-year students love Lawrence Technological University's thriving campus life. But LTU has always met non-traditional students' needs too. Lawrence Tech offers over 100 degree and certificate programs that can get adult students started or back on track. And most of our classes are conveniently offered evenings at our beautiful Southfield campus or online, so you can balance your social, family, and work life even while you power up your career. Lawrence Tech, where Blue Devils dare.